Over the past few weeks, I've asked you all to share your ideas for Battlefront 3 with me, to figure out what kind of game Battlefront 3 could be. Today, I've put together all of those ideas in one video, so developers, if you're watching, hopefully this could be a resourceful tool for you to use, a brainstorm of ideas about what Battlefront 3 could look like. This video is going to include ideas about everything, from the style of game, to game modes, to eras, to platforms, to maps, characters, heroes, customization, weapons, you name it, it's probably going to be mentioned in this video. And if you have more ideas for Battlefront 3, please leave them down below. I'd love to take a look and see what else you have to say. Also, let me know which of these ideas you would like to see, or which ones you disagree with, which ones you don't think would make a good Battlefront 3. All of the discussion is very welcome. Also, subscribe so that I can get to 1 million subs before Battlefront 3. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Now, one of the biggest requests I've seen across all of your comments has been for space-to-ground combat and ground-to-space combat. Combine space and ground battles. Be on the surface fighting, then be able to jump in a ship and fly up into space and fight in large ship battles in the same match. And this idea, I think 100% is what needs to be in Battlefront 3. This, for me, is the next natural evolution in Star Wars Battlefront. Because a lot of you have also said that they don't need to make Battlefront 3. They should just bring back Battlefront 2. I discussed all of that in another video. You can watch it here later on. This is what it looks like. But let's just say they are making Battlefront 3. What I think will make it different enough from previous Battlefronts, and what a lot of you are also saying, is space-to-ground combat. Is this large-scale game mode where whatever happens in space affects what's also happening on the ground and vice versa. There needs to be some way of connecting the two battles. In some ways, Battlefront 2 already does this with Supremacy, where you play the ground battle and then the cutscene plays, you fly up to the capital ships and fight in the capital ships for the other objectives. This is a two-stage approach to space-to-ground combat. The next evolution of this is doing it seamlessly, being able to get in a ship, fly up, fly back down, and the two different battles are interacting with one another. This is also what they originally tried to do with the cancelled Battlefront 3 from 2008, but that unreleased Battlefront 3 is notoriously known for being buggy and limited by the technology of the time. So perhaps now, in 2025, or whenever Battlefront 3 eventually gets made, is the time to revisit space-to-ground combat.
Now this is pod racing.
Now, the other biggest mention I've seen in all your comments is Helldivers 2. Make a Star Wars Battlefront style game similar to Helldivers 2. The idea here would be that you're in a squad, that worlds are potentially procedurally generated. You drop onto the map with gunships, complete the objective, and then make it to the extraction. We've seen how well Helldivers goes with Star Wars based on those mods I checked out a while ago by my friend Toasted Shoes. But I also love the idea of the persistent universe existing here, that the player's decisions will have consequences, that winning certain battles will affect parts of the galaxy and change the nature of the galaxy. This potentially even ties into Galactic Conquest, which has been one of the other most requested features for Battlefront 3, bringing back Galactic Conquest from the original Battlefront 2. And I feel that they could potentially tie the two of these ideas together. And having these smaller styles of missions, I think, could also make it easier to make more maps and planets for Battlefront 3. Perhaps this isn't Battlefront 3 altogether, perhaps this is just another Star Wars multiplayer idea. In Helldivers, you don't really see the full planet, but the scope of the game makes the planet feel so much bigger than it really is, makes the map feel so much bigger. So perhaps you do the same thing for a Star Wars Helldivers style game. Drop us into a map. After we see it in the galaxy, we choose to go there, drop down, complete the mission, complete the objectives, get extracted, fly to another planet, and complete another mission. Perhaps it's about ridding the galaxy of the Separatists. Perhaps you play as the clones or play as the Separatists, fighting on either side of the war, and Galactic Conquest comes into it with you having to conquer certain planets and parts of the galaxy. They could also add a Starfighter mode into this and perhaps tie in the space to ground. Man, I'm getting excited. There's so many cool ideas here. Imagine that kind of game where you're on a capital ship, like in Helldivers, you fly down to the planet, complete the objective, destroy the, droid factory, get back in your ship, have to win a space battle to survive, and then make it out of there alive. That sounds like such a cool idea, and I genuinely feel like this Helldivers thing could be the way they go, or could be a great idea for another Star Wars multiplayer game that doesn't necessarily have to be called Battlefront. It's on the table, man, and they've seen the success of Helldivers, so why not?
Look familiar?
Battlefront 3 needs some Call of Duty ideas, like search and destroy, a 6v6 with game chat and maybe proximity chat to make the game fun with others, not just solo. And I can see this working as a Battlefront game mode, especially if you base the mode in a specific era or specific scenario, such as the Empire versus the Rebels. A 6v6 search and destroy aboard an Imperial Star Destroyer or deep in a Rebel base. I think when it comes to Star Wars, the more immersive, the better. The more they lean into the Star Warsiness of it, the canon, and the better experience players will have. Star Wars is all about getting lost in the Star Wars galaxy, in the Star Wars world, and Battlefront 2 essentially is a big role play where you're reenacting these giant galactic battles from across the Star Wars galaxy. And I feel like that could tie nicely in with this style of game mode. My only concern with doing search and destroy is that it wouldn't be a priority for Battlefront 3. And there's a few reasons for this. Number one, there's only so many game modes they can make. Number two, they should be more focused on the larger scale game modes, in my opinion, which is what makes Battlefront. Number three, you risk spreading the game too thin with too many smaller game modes like this. Part of what Battlefront 2015 suffered from, part of what I think even Battlefront 2 suffers from. There's almost too much content in the game. They dedicated resources to building some smaller modes, which, yes, are fun, but perhaps they should have put that time and effort into more developed, larger scale modes, or even just adding more maps and more content to game modes like Supremacy. For example, there are no capital ships in the Age of Rebellion. But again, that's all in hindsight. Search and destroy is a fun idea. Battlefront 3 definitely needs the Arena on Geonosis map, plus a Galactic Assault game mode. The original Battlefront 2 had Gungans vs droids, which isn't very different from Ewok Hunt, and there could be more variations like Wookiees on Kashyyyk defending their homes, Geonosians attacking clones in the catacombs, etc. I too am disappointed that we've never actually got to play the Arena battle in Battlefront 2, and I definitely think that could be a fun addition to Battlefront 3, because what, are they going to just use the same Geonosis maps and same other maps from Battlefront 2? I feel like they need to make new stuff, as much as I do love some of those maps, and perhaps doing the arena could be heaps of fun. Also, yes, a hunt style of game mode like this could be really cool. I really enjoyed the other idea of pitting certain specific classes against other classes, for example, like the Gungans versus the Super Battle Droids. They could do things like this suggestion. We need an Umbara game mode where you fight Pong Krell. I think we could do also a Jedi versus Clones mode. Reenact Order 66. Why have we never really had an Order 66 game mode in Battlefront 2, apart from in the story mode for the original Battlefront 2? Why? It's the perfect setup and scenario for it. Have 1, 2, 3, or 4 Jedi fighting an entire other team of clones, of like 20 or 30 clones. That would be so much fun. Ewok Hunt. The current version is fantastic, if a bit repetitive since it's the same map each time. There's 2 maps. What about another area in Endor? Another map, different troopers, speeders, daytime, more variations on Ewok Hunt. Everyone enjoys the hunt modes. Ewok Hunt is incredible, and I would love to see that as well. Here's another similar suggestion. They need a Horde mode in Battlefront 3. Jedi versus rounds of droids or clones. 100% agree. Okay, let's get into some more specific characters and planets. I just want Mustafar, Ventress, Windu, Savage Opress, Ahsoka, Captain Rex, Kit Fisto, buffed Anakin and Yoda, and that for me is enough. That is not enough for me. I need more. I would love to see a game mode where you start in space. One faction is defending a planet, and the other one needs to breach through the blockade. Dropships then start to bring players to the ground, and attacking faction starts to move forward on the ground and tries to capture the planet while taking objectives. This is that space to ground style gameplay I think we definitely need, and perhaps there's an idea for how the two could be occurring simultaneously. Have the space battle impact how many people get to the ground battle, and have both continue. Players can then spawn either in the capital ship or down on the planet once the command post on the planet has been captured or established, once they've broken through the blockade, while the other team is defending from both the ground and the sky. Oh, if we ever get this game, I'm gonna be so happy, man. It's exactly what Battlefront was supposed to be all along. This is exactly what the original Battlefront 3 was supposed to be, or at least an evolved idea of what they were trying to achieve in that game. And for me, it's just that perfect immersive Star Wars experience where you're playing out these large-scale battles, experiencing it. Your actions have consequences. This is exactly what I want. If Battlefront 3 was made and it didn't have a dueling mode, I'd crash out harder than ever. I think Heroes vs Villains and Hero Showdown definitely go hand in hand with Battlefront. I mean, they're making the heroes anyway. They may as well make the Heroes vs Villains game mode. And in terms of a new one, I'd want to see them further develop the style of combat, perhaps add more depth to the lightsaber combat, maybe make it somewhat similar to Jedi Academy and the different lightsaber forms for each character. I know we have the different abilities in Battlefront 2, but I feel like they could do more with just the standard attacks perhaps, and maybe work on the parry and dodge system. I don't know how, but I think there is some room to play around there. I wouldn't be surprised if Epic Games made a special Star Wars Battlefront mode for Fortnite. Yes, I 100% agree. I wouldn't be surprised with this either, and I feel like when Star Wars comes to Fortnite Creative, as it is supposed to be soon, we're definitely going to see some variations of Battlefront in Fortnite made by creators. But based on the recent Star Wars event, it does seem like Disney and Epic Games are potentially one day going to make a Star Wars specific game mode in Fortnite, and perhaps it will be similar to Battlefront. Not sure if I should be excited or hesitant about this. I mean, more Star Wars for me is good, and more multiplayer Star Wars is always good. I just hope they can pull something off that's fun. I didn't mind the Fortnite Star Wars event, but for me, it's still no Battlefront 3. Liar! If we ever get Star Wars Battlefront 3, I hope we get more Galactic Assault and Supremacy maps. I also hope we get more heroes and villains such as Cad Bane, Ahsoka, Ventress, the Mandalorian, Mace Windu, and maybe even someone like Embo. I also hope they keep the old battle point system because I think that works really well. I think if Battlefront 3 were to release, they definitely need new heroes and can't just keep rehashing the same characters we've had over and over again. I would potentially want them to release the game with all of the heroes and villains that are already in Battlefront 2 and then add some extras on. Some, yes, Clone Wars themed extras like Mace Windu. Add the Mandalorian, add Asajj Ventress, add Ahsoka. These are all big character names, especially in Battlefront, and it's hard to think that Battlefront 2 doesn't have them. I think it would be sick to be able to customize your clone trooper. This could include pre-existing legions or custom legions made by players. This could go along with some sort of clan system where the clan has its own legion, and when you join it, you have the legion's colors. I 100% agree. Battlefront needs more customization, and I hope they add more with Battlefront 3. As much as I love being able to choose between all the different factions and even Phase 1 and 2 clones in Battlefront 2, I think there is still so much more they could do here, and players could be able to personalize each trooper with little trinkets, little, I don't know, shoulder pads, armor details, emblems, and so much more. I know the argument is that, oh, they're not supposed to have personality, they're all clones, but clones do have personalities. They're all slightly different. I mean, go watch the Clone Wars. There's a lot of customization going on, and I feel like they could give us more of that in Battlefront 3.
Oh, it's beautiful.
A Battlefront 3 game with elements from PlanetSide 2, a mix of Battlefield and Enlisted. Of course, keep the option for third and first person, and bring back space to ground maps as well. All really good ideas. I also love the idea of combining elements of these three games. PlanetSide 2, MMO, online first person shooter, large open world, heaps of players in each world. You got the customization side of things here as well. There's so much I feel like they could take from this style of game. Imagine this in Star Wars, bro. Oh my gosh, the good ideas again. They're so good. I'm just thinking of the possibilities. It is crazy to think that they haven't already done something like this. Like, come on, what are they doing? Why have they not made a game like this? I know I'm complaining now, but seriously, guys, Star Wars, it will print so much money. Give us an immersive Star Wars experience like this. It's such a missed opportunity, man, that they're not doing, and it's driving me insane. Make it, please.
Just do it!
I'm in that kind of mood, guys. I'm just like, it's crazy to think they haven't already achieved a game like this, or just at least explored the ideas of it. Instead, we're still, as much as I enjoy Battlefront 2, 2017, a long time ago, we're still playing it. Anyway, Battlefield and Enlisted as well. Yes, I think, I don't know, Battlefront should be a bit more casual, but also I think can definitely go a bit more hardcore as well than it is. Sometimes I think it's a bit too cartoony and gimmicky, which I saw in one of your other comments, and I feel like they could go for the more, slightly more immersive, like milsim kind of game. Not too far though, just a little bit more. My ideal Battlefront 3 would be taking the Clone Wars era of Star Wars and focusing in on what makes that era so special to so many people, while leaning into the realism of games like Battlefield 1 and 5. I'm talking about characterization and the horrors of war. Although Star Wars is increasingly seen as a media for children, the tragedy that permeates this era fits so well into a more realistic approach, and I think it would fit so well if we had a Battlefront game that was so committed to humanizing the clones as the Clone Wars series was. I 100% agree, man, I think they can lean more into it. My ideal Battlefront 3 is honestly just single era, just Clone Wars era only, as I feel like it works perfectly with what Battlefront is supposed to be. And they could go so much deeper into the Clone Wars. There's so much more to explore here, and it would 100% have a player base we'd all want. Also, they'd be able to focus their efforts so much more on just a single idea, on only focusing on Clone Wars kind of customization and Clone Wars faction, Clone Wars weapons, Clone Wars planets, Clone Wars heroes. You don't have to go beyond that scope. I'm going to talk more about my ultimate perfect Battlefront 3, what I would want to see in Battlefront 3 in another video. But yes, 100% agree with this. Clone Wars is what Battlefront, I think, is all about.
Just like the simulation.
They could make Battlefront 3 with just Clone Wars content and it would sell. If they expand on the Clone Wars stuff, I think you could see an explosion. Bring back the nostalgia and people will go crazy. The people playing these games now grew up on Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars and will pay for that type of content. Even a more expanded DLC for Clone Wars for Battlefront 2. It's all there, man. The Clone Wars is where it's at. Take the multiplayer of this Battlefront 2 and add a fresh campaign like the OG Battlefront 2. Also bring back Galactic Conquest and let the map be like LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga with so many different planets. Just go all out on one massive game and one massive game mode, I think. And that's the thing. I think if they focused on just one thing, just one game mode and one faction, they could make such a more refined but yet bigger experience. There's so many different ways to take Battlefront, and I feel like this could be one of them. I know Battlefront 2 has its flaws, but genuinely, if the game just had continued to add more planets, maps, characters, weapons, classes, etc., I would never stop playing it. Star Wars needs a Battlefront type game that does what a game like Fortnite has done. Star Wars has limitless characters, planets, lore, so just continually updating and expanding a base game would be a dream come true. Crazy to think that they canceled it in the first place, right? But yes, there's so much more to add. I mean, even Galaxy of Heroes gets updates. I don't know if it gets much, but they add new characters and weapon stuff to that game, right? New characters. Imagine Battlefront just continued to grow and grow and grow. Yes, you risked the game getting too big, but perhaps in a more refined experience, this would be achievable and you could just keep adding more characters and weapons and everything. In my opinion, Battlefront 3 equals larger and more dynamic battles. Maps could be even bigger with more players and a greater sense of scale. I agree. Bigger battles, especially ones that have more room for vehicles, because playing as a vehicle in the maps in Battlefront 2 can feel quite clunky just because the maps really aren't built for it. They're too small, they're too narrow, and you can't really use the vehicles in a way a vehicle in a game like this is supposed to be used. For example, take Battlefield. Vehicles in Battlefield work much better because the maps are bigger and there's more room to maneuver them and explore with them, and Battlefront 2 just feels a bit messy at times. More destructible environments. Increasing the level of environmental destruction could add a new layer of strategy and dynamicism to matches. I 100% agree. Battlefield has destructible environments. Why does Battlefront not? Expanded map selection. A wide variety of iconic and new locations from across the galaxy. More playable heroes and villains. A larger roster of heroes and villains from all eras with unique abilities and playstyles that stay true to their characters. In theory, this is what everyone wants. However, I know that the developers have said that designing a hero can take months, especially if they have a unique playstyle and abilities, so perhaps this isn't as realistic as we might like, but I think it's what Battlefront certainly needs, so maybe they need to refine that somehow and make some of the heroes less unique, but just add more of them. I'd be fine if like Mace Windu had really similar movesets to Anakin, maybe just slightly vary something. You know, does it really matter? I just want to play as Mace Windu, bro. Telling everyone to take a seat. He needs like a force push down move that's called take a seat. That's my big idea for Battlefront 3.
Take a seat.
Strategic use of capital ships, like Helldivers. In space modes, go beyond simple fighter combat and integrate more advanced mechanics for the use of capital ships, targeting subsystems, organizing boardings, deploying fighters strategically. Agree, this is all part of what I think could be a huge, amazing space to ground mode, and these are some great ideas to put in that. Team and squad customization. Deeper options to customize your squad's appearance and equipment, strengthening the sense of belonging and cohesion. And yes, making your character feel unique to you. 100% agree. Custom arcade gameplay, expanded custom arcade, offering players narrative, story creation, unit placement, much more AI available for larger scale battle, more maps, deeply editable game rules, and community sharing of unique challenges. That sounds extremely sophisticated and perhaps challenging to pull off, but not unachievable. I would love a milsim Star Wars, gritty, making the battles feel horrific rather than cartoonish, because war is war. And imagine seeing a clone trooper, brethren, blow an arm off and continue fighting with their pistol while the mud covers the white on their armor, and maybe add mud physics, and where it makes the gameplay feel more grueling if the field gets so destroyed and damaged. As cool as this would certainly be, I think this isn't necessarily the direction Battlefront would head in, but I certainly think they can make the game a little grittier than it already is. They could make Battlefront 3 grittier and a bit darker than what Battlefront 2 is for sure. A simple thing for this could be, instead of having D. Bradley Baker voice the clones, get Tamura Morrison. Have the original clone voice voicing the clones. Because, again, it feels like it's more the films and not the animated shows. It feels grittier and darker, perhaps. More like the original Battlefront 2 campaign, which is certainly dark. The 501st Journal.
Only to be met with the month after month of flesh-eating diseases, shrieking nocturnal predators, and other sights that haunt me to this day.
And that could be a simple thing to add this sense of grittiness that I think some of us really want. I would prefer something PvE co-op, not because I dislike Battlefront. Battlefront 1 was amazing, 2 was okay, but it was really difficult to get my friends to play PvP. I understand, I think Battlefront could have both, potentially. I don't know if this is too big an idea, but have the Helldivers style game mode and then also have something else. I don't know if that works though. I think if you're gonna do Helldivers style game mode, you just do that and nothing else. Certainly ideas for that. Does it need to be something of a competitive shooter where it's PvP? Perhaps you can just do PvE. Would you want that? I think that's not Battlefront though. I think that's another Star Wars game, like I said before. It's Star Wars Helldivers. I personally think they should do a season pass for Battlefront 3, like Battlefront 2015. The only difference is that the season passes include new heroes, new appearances, new blasters, and new emotes. All the new maps will be free, preventing the division in the player base, like what happened in 2015's Battlefront when it came to the 4 expansion packs. That is not a bad idea. As I said, if it means we continue to get more Battlefront content into the future, I am not opposed to the idea of a season pass or microtransactions. I know that might be controversial. I know a lot of you probably just want to pay for the game once and get absolutely everything. We all know that's not really how games work nowadays. A lot of them have paid cosmetics and other items, but yes, game modes and maps should all be free. Don't divide the player base with money. Don't give more experiences to players who play more money. Just give them more customization options. It's as simple as that. That's part of what I think, like you said, ruined 2015's Battlefront and spread the player base between all the different game modes. So don't do that. Just, yes, give them more cosmetics, more appearances, more skins if they want to pay more money. For example, if you want Helmetless Vader with the breathing mask, or I don't know, more clone trooper options, whatever it is, yes, maybe you have to pay for that, but hey, we're adding Umbara to the game. That's free. 100% okay with that. This is getting very specific, but one thing I'd love to see is a Geonosis map set during the Galactic Civil War, pitting the Empire against a mix of rebels and CIS remnants, like in that episode or two of Star Wars Rebels, but on a much bigger scale. It would be interesting to play on different era maps in different eras. For example, Geonosis, a Clone Wars era map, but play, yes, during the Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance. Would be fun. Something we don't have in Battlefront 2. You can do mods to make that happen, but definitely would be cool to see in Battlefront 3, even as a customization option perhaps. Here's what would make Battlefront 3 amazing. Galaxy-wide war. Choose which planet to fight on and help shape the outcome of a larger galactic conflict. So, persistent universe, Helldiver style, 100%. Space to ground battles. Seamless, massive fights with 100+ players. Couldn't agree more. Amazing. 4-player co-op story. Interesting. This is a good suggestion. Play a full campaign with friends with choices that actually matter. I'm all for co-op campaigns, although honestly, if they make Battlefront 3, I don't think it even needs a story mode. Man, people are playing Battlefront mostly for the multiplayer online or for the co-op modes, so maybe don't even do the story. But yeah, co-op story would be so cool. Love the idea of playing a story with your friends. Customization. Build your own troopers, heroes, and loadouts, yes. Online galactic conquest, a live strategic war map where every win changes the galaxy. Cross-play and cross-progression. Play with anyone, anywhere. I think definitely needs that. All multiplayer games have that nowadays. All modern multiplayer games have crossplay. Battlefront 3 should be no exception. It's a surprise Battlefront 2 is an exception. Battlefront 2 came from a time that was just before crossplay became kind of mainstream and widespread and all the games started doing it. They never added it to Battlefront 2, but I think Battlefront 2 would have definitely benefited from crossplay had they added to the game, and we would see a much more consistent player base because simply there's more people to find games with. All eras included. Whoa, okay, here we go. Clone Wars, original sequels, The Mandalorian, everything. That's huge. I don't know if that's achievable. Definitely just more everything.
More!
And most important, a living galaxy. Dynamic events, NPCs, invasions, bounty hunter missions, stuff happens even when you're not online. I love the idea of that. Yes, persistent universe, let's make it happen. Come on. And then you have the other side of that. With this comment, I think they could focus on one era of Star Wars, like the High Republic or the Clone Wars era or Empire and Rebel Alliance, and have more heroes than before and more customization, such as adding visors, adding rangefinders and other accessories to clones. And then have many planets to take, and when you take a planet, you can then travel to other planets in that system and then progress into different systems and then maybe start a new era and do the same again, but different eras. Man, huge game. I like the idea of just focusing on one era though. I think it makes it a much more specific experience focused on the Clone Wars. I like this next suggestion, although I'm not sure it could work. Battlefront 3, a ranked mode for Hero Showdown and a separate for Supremacy. I think adding a ranked mode to Battlefront 2 is a good idea because there are certainly modes you can join and just get completely owned, like Hero Showdown, if you don't know what you're doing. The only thing here is, are there enough players playing to add a ranked mode? But then when thinking of this, I'm like, why wouldn't there be enough players? It's Star Wars. Come on. If there aren't enough players playing to justify adding a ranked mode, you've messed something up, man. Something has gone wrong where you're not selling this game well enough, or the game, I don't know, there's something wrong. Perhaps with the ranked mode, you even build in a leveling system where you can see what level you're on, or you see what rank you're playing in. You rank up, you play against those players, you rank down, you play against those, kind of like Rocket League or a game like that. But definitely not a bad idea and something I think they should certainly consider.
You underestimate my power. Don't try it.
Honestly, I always wanted to see a Star Wars game with style of PlanetSide 2. Imagine 800 to 1,000 players constantly fighting for territorial control of a large map. Yes, bro, huge scale. That would make it feel so immersive as well, like Star Wars, like what Star Wars was always meant to be. ATTs going alongside platoons of troops while starships fight above, LAAT gunships drop off troops to new strategic locations, and a Vanilla-class Star Destroyer bombarding a location. A command structure would also be really cool with platoon leaders and maybe even a central command to plan out a pathway of zones to take. This, for me, would be the ultimate immersive Star Wars game. I could not agree more with you. It is a surprise they haven't been able to do something like this. There is so much potential in Star Wars multiplayer games, and it is strange to think that in the past 10 years, we haven't really had anything like this. Why are they not making this stuff? You guys have such great ideas, and there's so much potential in what we've seen from other games like PlanetSide 2. Why can't they just do a similar thing for Star Wars? As if that wouldn't sell. You can't tell me that wouldn't make them hundreds of millions of dollars. Everyone would want to play that. Everyone. I am losing my mind, as you can clearly tell.
Okay.
So many great ideas for Battlefront 3, guys. If you have more, please leave them in the comments below. Subscribe. Help me get to 1 million, please. If you want to see some of the rarest Easter eggs in Battlefront 2, watch this video here. And also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, join my Discord and TikTok. Come and keep sharing Battlefront 3 everywhere. Write it in every comment section ever. And thanks for watching. Always remember,
stay bombastic.